The three of them arrived almost at the same time, and the bell at the wellhead, which was still beating slightly, proved that something must have passed by just now. Zonbin took the spotlight and shone it, and there was a little splash of water next to the armed police. Needless to say that everyone knew what was most likely to happen. Hardly there was a discussion. The copycat had already put down his backpack, pulled out the climbing rope, and quickly tied a knot around his waist. This kind of nylon climbing rope is used. Not only is it very endurable, and it's sturdy and durable. The blind man on the other end. It's almost like it's worked with a copy. Put the rope on the ground, wrapped around the waist twice. I made a fixed pulley out of my body. The wellhead is round. I had to go down upside down. It's not a good job. Normal people are upside down like this. Hang for 15 minutes. The head is afraid that it is going to be blood pressure. I can't stand it. Before going down, he looked at the well water with a spotlight. Except for pitch black. Only the still shaking water told him. Something just fell here. Now there is no other way but to go down. Although Zonbin can communicate with gods and ghosts, but this kind of work is not what he is good at. Don't be distracted by anything else. They use the rhythm of the rope swinging as a code. Swing it out and keep putting it on. Swinging twice is a stop. Swing 3 times is to pull up. The blind man pressed the soles of his feet against the edge of the ancient well to prepare. The copycat glanced at the two of them. He nodded at Zonbin. He gave the blind man a thumbs up. Lie down at the mouth of the well and turn on the spotlight. Hold your arms on the edge of the ancient well and keep your distance. But the walls of the well were all wet and dry moss. Slippery. It took a few tries to barely stabilize his body. He began to signal the blind man above to put down the rope. Little by little, the rope went down. Less than 5 meters away, a rattling sound was heard, and it came up from the bottom of the well. This shows that it's already on the surface. The two people above also didn't know what was going on down the well. Fortunately, the light of the spotlights is there. The copycat is still motioning to release the rope. He's already diving. This kind of military climbing rope has a scale on it. Took a look. In less than 2 minutes, the plagiarist has gone down more than 20 meters. This depth to this head is very dangerous. Because there's a fatal factor underneath that. Anoxia. Although the copycat came back from Tibet, but keep this position. No one knows how long he will last. The blind man in Inoue and Zonbin, nervously looking into the well, always ready to pull the rope. Suddenly, the rope in the blind man's hand swung twice. This is a code to stop the rope release. Zonbin's heart has already reached his throat. Less than 5 seconds passed. There was a rumbling sound of water bubbles and silence. The sound is getting louder and louder. The rope shook violently suddenly. Constant flapping. The blind man and Zonbin looked at it, pulling the rope desperately almost at the same time. Just start to go up. The two of them felt heavy in their hands, but that moment was nothing more than desperate. There is no other way. He didn't even notice the strangeness above his head. The fog above the well began to slowly disperse. A hole the size of the mouth of a well. Just when that hole was fully revealed, a bright moon suddenly hung in the sky. Through that hole straight into the well. Zonbin almost subconsciously raised his head. What a strange and shocking celestial phenomenon this is. A large hole was made in the middle of the thick clouds. The disc-sized moon happens to be in the hole. Suddenly, the water in the well bulged upwards as if it were boiling. The rope in their hands is getting lighter and lighter. It's not even time to go up. In the blink of an eye, there was a powerful rush of water. It gushes out of the lake well into the air. A man also flew out of the well with the water. This man is none other than Chaozi. Zonbin and the blind man didn't have time to glance at the overload on the ground. The water in the ancient well seemed to be breaking through the zenith. A huge column of water shot into the sky with tremendous force. Zhao Wenbin looked at the scene in front of him, muttered, "Water Dragon West Moon. This is the Water Dragon Sia. Oh my god. What the hell is this place?" He looked at the soaring column of water. "Look at the burning bear that has been stupid," shouted. "Holding a copy. Hurry up and run away. Fast." The burning bear was already stupefied by the scene in front of him. He shouted back to his senses, "Don't say a word. Memorize the copy that does not know life and death." And he ran to the side. The two carried a copy of the coma, almost in the way of running. I got to the room where I was hiding, looking at Chaozi, whose face was already blue. Cold hands and feet. Zavenbing gave it a try. The heartbeat and breathing are still there. Zhua Xiong turned Chaozi over, pressed his abdomen against his arched thighs, slapped vigorously. Kayun gulped water. A few minutes later, he opened his eyes, looking at the two of them, who were already crazy. "Shake your hands with all your might. Show yourself that it's not a big problem." A few people standing 100 meters away. After watching the time of the will box, the water from the well stopped gushing. Almost at the same time, the moonlight on the top began to fade. The open cloud hole closed again. Then there was a pouring rain from the sky. The dilapidated house also began to leak rain. Zaven asked the blind man to make a fire. "Take care of the superduns." Carrying the spotlight, he rushed out. "Because there are two more people." "Where's it?" A few sword steps rushed to the ancient well. Except for a mess of ground, there was a pink hairpin that fell not far away. Zhao Wenbin picked up the hairpin, wiped the sludge. My heart tightened. Pinched the hairpin. Lao Wang, where are you?" "Still. Can you hear me?" Zaven's soldiers braved the rain. Standing in the middle of the village, he shouted wildly into the ancient well. Shouting. He was answered by the sound of crackling rain. There was no other sound. The ancient well that is deep into the ground. I can't see what is going on down there. The light of the tactical spotlight hits down. Will be swallowed up by endless darkness. It's as if this is a tomb of light. A temple of darkness. Zhao Wenbin was left without an owner for a while. Overwhelmed. Let the rain split the head and cover the face. Suddenly, it occurred to him that the hairpin in his hand was still there. This hairpin is no one else's. It's the little girl who is still cold. Zhao Wenbin's mind flashed. Don't worry about wiping the water. He took out a piece of talisman paper in his arms. Sprinkle into the air. The paper actually burned in the pouring rain. Slowly drifting into the ancient well. Zhao Wenbin looked at the scene in front of him. The heart has been tense all night. Finally, a little relaxed. I took a look at the ancient well. Turn around and walk towards the abandoned house. He's going to see what's going on with the money. The money on the other end has woken up. Leaning against the door panel, by the fire. In addition to non-stop sneezing, it seems to have recovered quite a bit. Zhao Wenbin took a look. I was relieved too. Before the plagiarist could speak, just said a word. Words that make those present excited. They are still alive. At least the girl is still alive. Then he turned around and found a few dry planks. Throw it into the fire. Alive. I heard about the copy that was still shrinking just now, already struggling to get to his feet. It was already a sloppy look. Immediately the light gathered. Zhuxiong on the side hurriedly took the copy. Both looked at Zhao Wenbin expectantly. Zhao Wenbin added a few pieces of firewood to the fire. Liang Jiu spread out his clenched fists. A pink hairpin, lying quietly in the palm of his hand. This is what I just picked up at the well. The two of them, at least that girl, must have been going through. I clicked on a talisman. If the owner of this robbery is still alive, the rune paper can be burned. If you can't, then that means... The whip stood up with both hands, and the emperor snorted. Can't wait outside. Yes, did that burn up? Oh, go up in flames. And the direction in which the rune paper floated last was inside the ancient well. Zhao Wenbing replied as he stirred with the firewood in the fire team. The copyist and the blind man smiled at each other. Asked again, Brother Wenbing, what does it mean to drift to the ancient well? Zhao Wenbing looked at the two men in front of him. Shaking his teeth, he said, if the person is still alive, then it should be underground. Plagiarism. What did you just encounter in the well? And Yichao had almost recovered at this time. Coupled with the news from Wenbing's side, he saw hope again. His face had gradually normalized, began to recall the situation in the well. When the plagiarist approached the water's surface, he didn't notice anything unusual. With his waste life as a soldier in Tibet, he took a deep breath and headed underwater. The tactical spotlight he carries on his head can see more than 20 meters underwater. But what can be seen in this ancient well is less than a meter. Except for the white expanse in front of him, there is nothing else. He could only dive by feeling. All the way to a depth of about 15 meters, Chaozi suddenly felt that it was also dark in front of him. Something popped up online. I haven't had time to react yet. I got a big gooey stuff around my head. I didn't hold my breath. The thing went straight into his mouth. Chaozi subconsciously pulled out the dagger, swinging forward, while pulling the rope. I want the people above to pull him out, right now. A powerful current of water rushed out from below. Then he was swept out of the valley neck by the current. He fell heavily to the ground and fainted. Then he woke up again. It's already in this room. I don't know about the rest. Wait until the transcript is finished. Zhuo Xiong continued to check. When you pull the rope, I'll just go up. It was heavy at first. I can't pull it alone. It's Brother Wenbin who came to help. Two people working together. Barely kept you. Don't sink down. Then the rope suddenly loosened. The well began to come out of the water. And then you came up. Brother Wenbin. You say plagiarism. Is it in the well? I met the Well Dragon King. Copycat glared at Zhuo Xiong. Where did the Well Dragon King come from? I felt like it was a bath. Brother Civilization. Plagiarism. Don't believe me. When I was a child, I always sneaked into the river to swim in the summer. I was often beaten by my father when he was caught. He said that there was a Dragon King in the river. There is a Well Dragon King underneath. Offended them. He was dragged down and drowned. Often people go missing in our river. The old people all said that they were pulled by water ghosts, accompanied the Dragon Lord to play chess. After speaking, he glanced at Zhao Wenbin. I hope that my statement will be recognized by this Taoist priest. Copycat glanced at Zhuo Xiong with contempt, yelled, Don't talk nonsense. That's your dad afraid of you. Okay, don't talk about it. Plagiar, you have a good rest. Brother Zhuo Xiong and I took turns standing guard. We'll take a look at it when it's dawn. That's it. After speaking, Zhao Wenbin picked up a few pieces of dry firewood, walked towards the eaves outside the door. A small fire was lit. Sit down. The two of them. Look at me. I'll look at you. Thought. What's wrong with this Taoist priest? In order not to be boring, lie down and close your eyes. Only the Zaven soldiers outside the door were left, reflecting the flames. Silent contemplation. The bamboo bear drowned in a word. Reminds him of who he is. Isn't it the poor daughter who drowned in the water at a young age? I'm afraid no one knows. Because since he left home, I never talked about it again. Zhao Wenbin looked at the two people who were already asleep inside and turned their heads. Look at the ancient well in the distance. And so I saw the dawn. When Zavin awoke from a pleasant bird song, he was amazed to find that not only did the rain stop outside, and the thick fog also dispersed. What's more, there were birds chirping in the village. He glanced up. The blue sky is full of dark clouds. The surrounding mountains are also exceptionally green. It was as if the place had come to life overnight. Zavin wiped his eyes. It was found that everything was true. Hurriedly went in to wake up the two. I don't care about what to eat. The three of them rushed towards the ancient well of last night. It may have been uninhabited for a long time. It could also be that the rain was really heavy last night. There are many small streams in the village. It seems to have been left behind from the surrounding mountains. But at this moment, they have no time to enjoy the beautiful scenery after the rain. The copycat turned on the tactical club lamp and shone towards the ancient well, except that it was pitch black and pitch black. The moss that remained at the edge of the well invariably pressed upwards against the wall of the well. Tell everybody how intense the water washed away last night. But every well has a clear watermark. The water level of the well is no more than 5 meters deep. At this moment, there is no well water on the water level. It's just that I can't see clearly where the lights go down. I don't know how deep this ancient well is. Last night the plagiarist had already tried to go down the well without success. Today, this method naturally does not dare to be tried easily. Just when everyone was at a loss around the ancient well, Zhuoxiong saw a small rock at his feet. I picked it up. There's a way. Let's throw a stone down. Listening to the echo, you should know how deep the shock is. After saying that, I wanted to lose it. Was stopped by Zhao Wenbin. What if the two of them happened to be down the well? I didn't crush you to death with your stones. Zhuoxiong looked at the tennis ball-sized stone in his hand, nodded a little bit, stuck out his tongue, put it down again. Zhang Wenbin looked at Zhuoxiong's stone, asked He Chao, "Pump, how long is that rope of yours?" Naturally, he didn't know what medicine he was selling in his gourd. This brother Wenbin, it has always been 3.5 sentences to speak. He didn't think much of it. Untie the nylon military hiking rope tied to your body. There are 100 meters. Don't look at this rope. It can withstand the weight of 500 or 600 caddies. Zhao Wenbin seems to have a way. Plagiarism. You untie the end of the rope. Tie the spotlight to it. Tie another stone. Slowly put it into the well. Scold. Brother Wenbin, you're so smart. Here it comes. A straight rope, tied with stones and spotlights, in the hands of the copycat, with the hope of all, slowly lowered it into the ancient well. When it is in sight, on both sides of the ancient well were some aquatic plants, nothing else. 20 meters later, I haven't heard the sound of entering the water yet. This depth, it's already a distance that the human eye is gradually indistinguishable. The plagiarist can only continue to release the rope. Zhao Wenbin's fiery eyes. I seem to have seen something. Shouted. Plagiarism. Don't move. Don't move. You turn the rope slowly. Looks like you got to the location yesterday. Tightly closed and above. Something different. After the copycat heard it, slowly turn the rope in your hand. Pull the spotlights. I took a circle of the edge of the ancient well. Such a distance. Copy, the eyes of these scouts. Nothing was found, but the soldiers saw it. Sure enough, there are reliefs carved on the wall of the well. Those lines have been soaked underwater for too long. In addition, the erosion of aquatic weeds has been somewhat blurred. But Zhao Wenbin always felt that these lines were so familiar. It's like I've seen it somewhere. But it is impossible to tell what it is. After seeing it clearly, let the money continue to be released. A few meters below, Zhao Wenbin saw different lines again, until his line of sight could not reach it. When the rope in the hands of the copyist, when there is already a knot left in the hand, the well doesn't seem to be at the end of the day. Could it be said, this well that the ancients dug here, already more than 100 meters? The plagiarist muttered there. A well was dug in a basin for water. Do you need it so deeply? Zhuoxiong, your immortals are no ordinary weirdos. Zhuoxiong heard the copyist complaining about his ancestors again. As soon as my neck stiffened, I wanted to lift the bar. My home. But now, he found himself in poverty. Oh yes. What kind of descendant am I? How this place is something strange. Don't blame the plagiar. Even he was suspicious. I had to do it a few times. Bow your head and let the copy taunt fall. Since it didn't go to the end, I had to lift the rope up. Checked it out. The other end of the rope turned out to be dry. Dry. Brother Wuming, you see, this head is dry. There is no water in this well. Soaked deep water last night. Dry today. This. The plagiar looked at the spotlight that was still dry, suddenly slumped on the ground. The soldier picked up the rope on the ground and looked at it. It is indeed dry. There is no water in the well. Could it be that all the water from the well spewed out last night? That's why. This climbing rope is the kind of nylon rope. It is 4 strands of nylon rope tied together. And it comes out, and Zhuoxiong bought one by one. Zavenbing looked at the knot on the other end. My mind turned. Pregnant. Ugly. You put 2 ropes, split into 2 strands, and join them together. Let's try again. Just do it. Not for a while. It was disassembled. Tied the spotlights and stones again, lowered towards the neck of the valley. 50 meters, 100 meters, 150 meters. The scale on the rope is already 150 meters. There's no bottom yet. He glanced at the 2 men next to him. You can only continue to put it. 200 meters. Looking at the length of already 200 meters. I can only pray that this damn ancient well will bottom out soon. 250 meters. It's not over yet. Suddenly, the rope in the copy's hand was loosened. Well, there is no more sinking feeling. In the end. The copycat shouted excitedly at the 2. In the end. It's finally the end. When Bin and Zhuoxiong hurriedly surrounded them. How many meters? The copycat slowly lifted the rope upwards again. I always mentioned that I could feel the height of the stone above the ground. Glanced at the scale. No more, no less. Exactly 270 meters. Mother's finally bottomed out. 270 meters. How deep does it have to be? Glanced at the scale, said with a sigh of relief. If I'm not mistaken, this well was built at this depth. Zhuoxiong asked, oiling the butt of the gun. Brother Ming. You mean, someone deliberately put a well, dig to just 270 meters? Zhao Wenbin looked at the azure one. He glanced at the house next to him in the sky and said, Right. 270 meters equals 81 tenths. The ancients used length as a unit of account. Feng Shui when the 9 generator. Nature turns into 1. When 2 nines appear, that is, at the time of 81, it is a kind of repetition. When the ancients built things, all of them are based on 9 as the maximum number. 9 is the biggest, also ultimate. It means sin. If you want to return to 1, it will eventually be a positive result. 147,369 is also needed. Take it one step at a time. 99 to 1. That is, from where you come from, and where you go. Back to the state of the place. This kind of reply. It's not a simple return. It's a biochemistry, a kind of reinvention, a kind of nirvana. It is a new starting point. Finally, I kind of understand the cross-dressing. Maybe we've stepped into a huge trap set by our predecessors. I don't know what that means, but there is no escape. There's a good chance we've all become one of his pawns by now. Chessman. You mean we've all been calculated? Not to be calculated. I'm afraid it's been calculated by the heavens. There were 5 of us coming out. To be a positive result, 19 is not enough. The same requires a 5. 95 can become the supreme. Zawinbin said this. That's really a mystery. What about the 2 brothers? I'm out of ideas now. The theory of gods and ghosts. Those who believe naturally believe. Unbelievers, you can't believe it. Now the facts are in front of us. Who is gratuitous? We'll make such a few big ancestral halls to be Yizhuang. Lay down the bronze coffin and the giant porcelain stone. Whose house needs to dig a well 81 feet deep for water? At that time, I guess there was no need to extract oil. Who would build a village in a place where middle-aged people can't build starlight? One life is still 1,000 years, but now it's empty. Whose door will choose the ancient murderer to guard the door? In short, when everything has gone beyond our thinking. It can only be understood with some non-dimensional and supertemporal concepts. In Zawinbin's world, there have always been those that can be explained and those that don't. Apparently what they are experiencing now is that they don't need to explain. I can't explain it. All that awaits him is one step at a time. Whether it is a fight with people or a fight with the sky, is it fate or coincidence? In those unknown worlds, we have limited knowledge. It's always so small. After that, last night was still an ancient well full of water. All the clues seem to be broken. But time can't wait. If you don't see anyone after today, I'm afraid I'll never see it again. Look at the pile of rope by the well. He even had the thought of going on. But can the ancient well of more than 200 meters go down? Even if the rope is long enough, there may not be enough air down there. Things always change so quickly. Just when Zawinbin was thinking about the back and forth, a small detail was discovered by him. Zhuoxiong handed a cigarette to the copyist. The man relieved the boredom with 2 magic weapons, tobacco and alcohol. Plagiarism at the moment. It's also annoying. Sit against the edge of the well. Take a few sharp puffs. Hold a hand with the cigarette in your hand. It was set on the edge of the drum well. Every man smokes in a different way. So every man flicks the cigarette ash in a pose. It is also inconsistent. Plagiarism is that kind of thing. Cigarette in tow. The hand will shake the type of bullet ash constantly. This bullet. The ashes naturally fell into the well. Wait until a cigarette is about to run out. Zawinbin suddenly discovered. The soot sticking to the mouth of the valley shook back and forth. It looks like it's about to fly. He leaned in. Gently place your cheek against the mouth of the well. The hairs on his cheeks were shaking slightly. Windy. There's wind in this well. He slammed it. Scared the plagiara so much that it bounced off its neck. A handful of them threw themselves into Zhuoxiong's arms. Ghosts. There are no ghosts. There are ghosts in the well. Zhuoxiong laughed happily. There are ghosts in the well. I was going to scratch your ass. Dark hairy claws. Zawinbin looked at the 2 fire treasures. When has this been? Still joking. I lost my temper too. Ugly. Come and see. There's wind in this well. It means that the air in it is circulating. Doesn't that mean? There's definitely a connection somewhere. Fast. Light another cigarette. Try gently popping the soot into the well. Zhuoxiong is holding one in his mouth, pulling out the crumpled cigarette, but that had been bitten. Reach out and place your hand directly above the drum well. Shake it gently. The soot drifted downward. The three of them stared at those with all their attention. Usually inconspicuous soot. It's just a momentary action. It feels like a century at the moment. The gray-white soot fell down with their hopes. He hasn't walked into the well yet, and spread out to the side. Fall to the edge of the well. Let's talk about it again. This time it's even more obvious. There were a few clouds of soot that made a few laps around the piano mouth. It actually began to float upwards. Zhuoxiong couldn't hide his joy. Talked about it a few more times. Still. Sure enough, there was a wind. Brother civilization. How did you find out? Zavenbing pointed to the cigarette in his mouth, said with a smile. I only found out by the cigarette you copied. I was hesitating. Now it can be almost concluded. At least there's air here. Cam, didn't you say that your rope can pull hundreds of pounds? Can one of the two strands that are separated fall out? Chaozi picked up the rope on the ground and pulled it a few times. Don't underestimate this rope. Although one share is worse than two shares, but the pulling force can still reach 400 caddies. Don't say a single person. Both of them can hold up. There is an ancient pine tree on the edge of the ancient well. Why are the two so thick? Zavenbing walked over, took the kick and kicked it, motionless. Ugly. You tie the rope to this tree in a moment. Wait a minute. I'll go down and have a look. If only it were fine. I'll inform you both more. If you go down, you don't respond. Then you two will go out of the mountain quickly. Don't go back to this village again. Do you hear me? After speaking, pick up the rope with your hands. Walk to the tree and took a dead cut. I pulled hard again. Once you're sure it's okay. Zhuoxiong and Chaozi walked up together. Stopped him. Brother civilization. Both of us are scouts. To go down. Naturally, we are also leading the way. Yes, Brother Woming. I was a soldier in Tibet with Chaozi. I am a veteran of mountaineering training. The situation in this underground is unclear in the first place. You don't have much experience. I think I'd better go down first. Zha Wenping patted the shoulders of the two men. These two boys have been all the way. He has always been very respectful of him as a Taoist priest, but the copycat went down once. I almost lost my life. He Lao has lost his wife. You can't let the plagiarism be in danger. Zhuoxiong is the only son of Zhuolaohan. Plainly, his role is only that of a guide. You can take them into the village. It's done. No matter what, we can't let them get into this muddy water, even if it's really held down there. I can only go down on my own. Zha Wenbin looked at the sky. I'm afraid it's going to be a lot in another hour. When the time comes, I'm afraid that something will change again. Don't talk about it. I'll go down first. You've got a good eye on it. Shoot in the mirror if anything. If I go down, there is no danger. Copy, you come down again. Zhuoxiong. I'll go down later. You pull the rope 3 times for the signal. That means I'm to the end. No way, brother civilization. I'll go down first. I'm more experienced than you are. The ugly man snatched the rope. Just change it for yourself. It was snatched back by Zaven's soldiers again. Ugly, listen to me, you kid. It's really a flat ride down here. Lao Tzu can also go on. What if it's weird? What you think you learned in the army? Can you handle it? Don't say anything else. The village is full of evil things that have never been seen before. Don't talk about this authentic ancient well. After speaking, the Zama soldiers were afraid that he would be impulsive. One more sentence was added. I did the math. Today, you two are not hard enough. I'm the only one who goes down first. Of course, the latter sentence. It's just that he's scary when he takes it out. Chaozi smashed the cigarette, but in his hand hard. Blind man, you pull the rope. I put a buckle on him. Chaozi finished, began to set up a professional mountaineering festival for Zhao Wenbin. He was given a tactical spotlight again. Zhao Wenbin was afraid that he would encounter something. Simply put the guy in the gossip bag. Hung around the neck. In his right hand, he holds the Great Seal. I made an appointment with the two of them. It was pulled by the two of them and ready to go down the well. Before departure, Zhao Wenbin hugged the two of them. If you put it on the road 270 meters on flat ground, it's only a minute or two walk, but it's going straight down. I can't see my fingers. I don't know anything about the underground valley well. How long does it take to walk? He himself didn't know. The Hyperon is responsible for sitting on the combustion pulley at the wellhead. For insurance, Zhuo Xiong added another human pulley behind him. Zhao Wenbin took a deep breath. Face your feet down. It began to descend slowly towards the neck of the valley. In an instant, he was surrounded by a cold, unknown world. And so on to descend less than 4 meters to the position. Zhao Wenbin tugged on the rope hard. 2 clicks. This is the signal they agreed upon. Time out. He saw the lines that he had vaguely seen earlier. Use your hand to remove the moss from above. On the wall of the well that has been severely eroded by well water, several patterns that seem to be artificially depicted are revealed. As the moss is more and more peeled off by it, gradually, some messy lines appeared. Although it was very badly blistered, but the portrayal is deep. You can still see it. The lines are long and short. They are thick and fine. Take a closer look. In some places, someone deliberately pricked a small eye. It looks dense. Zhao Wenbin thinks, where have these lines been seen? It's familiar. It's familiar. Zhao Wenbin held these with his hands. I don't know the lines engraved on the ears. Close your eyes. Bring them to mind one by one. The composition of a pattern. The rope was turned again. Keep groping. When he finished his lap, when a finger touches a relatively large hole, he snapped his eyes open. Look at that point. A total of 4 holes of the same size were felt. These 4 are the largest of the whole pattern. A huge picture quickly lined up in his mind. Zavenbing came up with a result. This is the plan of the village above. The whole picture is in the shape of a fish. The plan of the village is painted on the fish. The 4 big dots represent the 4 post houses guarded by fierce beasts. Then the well in which you are naturally the center is the center. The horizontal lines represent the winding roads in the village. Those little dots represent the house. And what surprised him even more, when he is fully assembled, find yourself in this village. It's actually a natural gossip. The Bagua diagram is composed of 2 fish, 1 yin and 1 black and 1 white. The deep well in which I am located. It's just a fisheye on an yin-yang fish, and the location of the village is in the yang realm from the pattern. Then this point is also this ancient well. Doesn't it represent the underworld where there is yin in the yang? There is a white spot in the gossip blackfish. There is a black spot in the white fish. The black and white colors represent yin and yang, respectively. Heaven and earth are 2 steps, the line between black and white. It is the human part that divides the yin and yang realms of heaven and earth. A black dot in white indicates that there is yin and yang. Black and white dots indicate that there is yang and yin. Dao Xingyi is Wuji Sheng Tai Chi. The second life is Tai Chi and 2 instruments. 2 and 3 are the sympathetic combination of yin and yang. 3 things are Tai Chi, containing 3 is 1. Because all things are born from yin and yang. Therefore, all things gather in Taiji. Other words, Tai Chi encompasses more than just yin and yang. It also includes the boundaries and standards for dividing yin and yang. Zhao Wenbin found, I really know too little, too little. What kind of place is this? What kind of person has such great powers? How many formations are there here? Waiting for him. Zaven soldiers falling in mid-air. No response for half a day. It also made the people above anxious. The pump shouted into the well. Brother Wenbing, did something happen? This shout. When pulling him back to the line, he rubbed his hands together. Prepare to continue the descent. Zavenbing looked at the lines again. Shouted at it. It's okay. Go ahead and put it on. The copy above answered. The two began to work together again. The speed of the release is very slow, as the depth gradually increases. Gradually, Zhao Wenbin's figure. It's starting to be unclear. A little more later, all that's left is the spotlight overhead, the light that came out of it. Just every 5 meters, the copy stopped. Zhao Wenbin pulled a rope hard. The rep is safe. You can continue to put it. 2 pulls mean you need to pause. Pull 3 times is the end agreed before. If it is constantly shaking the rope, it means that there is danger in the mine. Need to pull it up quickly from above. As the rope is lowered deeper and deeper, the interval between the pauses of the copy is also getting shorter and shorter. Gradually, it evolved. Every meter you put is a signal that needs to be aligned. And what about the Zaven soldiers below? What was found in the well again? What kind of world is the Gujing lower gate? We need to adjust our gaze. Say yes. Zaven passed through the opening lines. Then he began to pay attention to the wall of the well. The further you sink, the more traces of water erosion there are. The color of the wall of the well, also gradually made of the top off-white. It turned brown, but the moss increases with depth. Begin to taper off, but there is a point. The further down, the stronger the airflow from the bottom up. To a depth of about 50 meters, the sharpness can already blow the chinku and belt hanging on the chest. Fresh air brought by those air currents. Compared to the outside air, I don't know how many times better. Suck into mouth. There was a hint of sweetness on the tip of the tongue. Let Zhao Wenbin relax his originally tense body slightly. Human instinct always sees bitterness and sourness as a sign of danger. I think sweet and fragrant means safe. One thing hasn't changed throughout. It's that his eyes haven't left the closed half a step. The ancient rocks have obvious man-made chisel marks. With a little care, you can also restore the labor scene of digging this ancient well at that time. There are some similar murals every 3 meters or so, but it is also a pattern made of very simple lines. The most common ones are some fish, birds, and trees. Occasionally, a couple of human figures flash by. The most impressive thing about the Zaman soldier was a man with huge eyes and huge ears. Because the lines are very rough. Zhao Wenbing only watched it for a moment and remembered it.